Hey guys, what's up? I got everybody here from TMI. Don't forget to write us an email at tmipodcast2018. That's tmipodcast2018 at gmail.com. Let us know how we're doing. Also, check us out on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast 2018. Just use the numbers, don't spell it out.
Ooh, don't forget Facebook.com/TMI podcast 2018.
Follow us on the Apple Podcast app. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review.
All you YouTubers out there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, TMI Podcast 2018. Look for the popcorn bucket.
That's right. Also, check us out on Spotify and the Google Play Music app for all you Android users. Follow us and subscribe everywhere. We appreciate it. We're doing it for you guys, the fans. Thank you.
The moment our fellow geeks, weebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Dave Odinson Warhowski, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Mike Mjolnir Evans. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
We're back.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks, everybody, for coming back with us.
Yes, thank you. These people are like gluttons for punishment.
A small cult following, I would say that
Shh, we're not a cult.
A rabid fan base.
Ooh, I like that
yes,
one. Rabid.
localized rabid fan base. No, we stretch out every once in a while.
An international rabid fan base.
They know of us in Tanzania, Nigeria, Egypt,
Uruguay,
South Korea, the far-flung corners. And speaking of the far-flung corners, this may be where our 20th reviewer resides. We don't know because we have not heard from you yet. Iffy you, where are you? We've not gotten an email yet from you, and you are our winner. You have won the Side Nathano Pop, but you have to email us so we know where you are so we can mail this thing out to you.
He needs a home.
He does. So again, it couldn't be any easier. We have our own TMI email. It is tmipodcast2018 at gmail.com. That's tmipodcast2018 at gmail.com. Just email us. Tell us who you are, where you live. We will send this thing to you free of charge. And then we can get on to our next contest. We're going to give you one more week, and then we're going to concede this maybe to our number 19 reviewer. So please, if you are listening, if you listened to last week, if you're listening this week, send us an email. Okay, our first order of business done.
Done.
So this week, we would like to go back to the television world, and we're entering, it's still going to be a movie, but it's a Netflix movie, and it's called Extinction. Warning, right off the bat, we are going to do a lot of spoiling of this movie.
We're going to spoil the heck out of this
This
thing.
is one of these movies where there's a twist and a twist and a twist, and we're going to talk about all of them. So again, this is a Netflix original movie. It is called Extinction, and starring Michael Pena.
Pena. A little accent over there.
Yes.
Pena.
And Lizzie Kaplan. She was in Cloverfield. She was the girl, the unfortunate girl who had the parasite injected into her.
I did not recognize her because the camera was still.
But yeah, Lizzie is the one who gave birth to the Cloverfield monster's parasite after she was bitten in that movie. And she does her time on a stretcher in this one as well. So we have this movie Extinction. It's on Netflix, sci-fi. If you look at the trailer, what you're getting is possibly an alien invasion movie. So if you were to just surmise what the plot is about from the trailer, we all did before we watched it, before we committed, what it looks like is you've got your lead character, Peter, played by Michael Pena, and he is having dreams. He's seeing visions of what looks like an alien invasion taking place. And he thinks he's crazy. And he doesn't know if what he's seeing is a psychic flash or this has taken place, or it's just all in his brain. And by the end of the trailer, you're thinking that something is actually happening here, but you don't know if it's in his mind or not.
Well, I will say that I like it really just from the get-go. Things just, it doesn't take long to kind of get everything going. Like it's really kind of tight and terse. It just, wastes no time getting into. You got his voiceover. He's asking all these existential questions. Who are we? What do we do? I get up, I go to work, I do. But then right, you see right away he's starting to have these flashes, which look like, what you said, Jim, which is like these flashes of future events. And he thinks he's crazy. His family thinks he's crazy, and he's kind of like pushes and pulls him away from his family.
And as you get into the movie, it's very disjointed because it moves very fast. It's like an hour and 40 minutes, so you don't get a lot of character development in the early stages of the movie. You don't get a lot of insight into the family. You've got Michael Pena and Lizzie Kaplan, who plays Alice, his wife. And then they have two daughters,
Hannah and Lucy. Lucy was the little one with the monkey,
and then the other one who was kind of.
Oh, you're right. Yes, yeah.
The surly older, early teens daughter, and they're all kind of gender non-specific, and you're thinking, what's going on? Because Michael Pena is obviously Hispanic, and
but he has absolutely no accent in this. Because if you see him in Ant-Man, like he plays up that Spanish accent to the hilt, and then here. He's about as generic white as they come. Like
because he's Peter.
So
and yes, as Jeff was saying, there's a lot of existential, voiceover in Peter's head, and it's almost as if he's living out the lyrics to "Once in a Lifetime" by talking. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife.
If only he had that big shoulder pad suit,
exactly,
that would have just put it right over the edge.
A lot of overhead shots of people mindlessly going to work, which looks kind of like an ant colony from above.
Little drones, yeah. Which we all can relate to.
So Peter's having the dreams. He's seeing what appears to be an invasion coming. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like he's having a psychic foreshadowing of these events. So
right.
Like
his
dread.
wife is like, please go talk to somebody.
Yeah, he's completely paranoid all the time. His life is filled with dread because he thinks the world is about to end. So they go to the Whole Life Wellness Center, where he meets another patient in the waiting room who tells him he is not crazy, that this guy is seeing the same thing.
They have like shared visions, right?
And they're trying to erase these visions from them. So Peter freaks out and leaves.
So that right there was like interesting, because now you're like, oh, he's not alone. And they kept flashing to these paintings that the wife was working on, and there was paintings in the wellness center as well. And you're like, all right, all of this is kind of tied in. And the way that she was talking to him almost made me feel like she knew what was going on with him. Obviously, that doesn't pan out, but I really felt that she had some kind of an inkling of what was really dealing with.
Yeah, no, I got the feeling that she was just kind of badgering him and very impatient with him.
Just being a normal wife.
So we got, then we have Mike Colter, who plays his boss, the mighty Luke Cage from the Netflix series. And also who compels him to go to this Whole Life Wellness Center to get himself checked out.
And he works at the factory?
He works at the factory, quote unquote, the factory. I think that's all it's ever called.
Yeah, no, you never really understand. It looks very sci-fi-ish. And even, so I will say visually, I thought this was pretty impressive for a Netflix movie. The scenery, and even later on, I thought it was pretty impressive. But yeah, the factory is like this kind of sci-fi factory, but you never really understand what it is that they're doing. And he's just like kind of like this drone that's just, doing background work. He's almost like a janitor, I guess. I don't know. He wasn't like a high-end scientist or anything, right?
No, he seemed like maintenance kind of
like a handyman.
Guy. Yeah.
But he couldn't even do that because these visions kept hindering him, and so at one point he passes out and he wakes up in the dark. He had made plans with his family for Family Day, and then completely blew that. wakes up in the middle of the night. His whole family's mad at him. But I'm like, no one found this guy laying in the middle of the factory. I'm assuming they had to go punch in and punch out. No, what happened to Peter? I don't know.
And this, what we're talking about, happens maybe in the first 10 to 15 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, like I say, it really just kind of goes right into it. You don't get a lot of prep time as far as, really getting to understand or know this family.
Yeah. There's not a lot of characterization going on. It's
You're
just
thrust right into his issues.
Yeah, and the family is just kind of bland and in the background. And he to an extent is bland himself. You've got no sense of history with these characters, and you'll see why. Right after he blacks out at the factory and he lets his family down, I think in the next scene or two, his wife is having a party because she's celebrating a promotion at their house. All their friends are over. He's outside looking at the sky through a telescope that he just bought his daughter as like kind of a
he's already like 5 hours late for family time, and he comes home with a telescope.
Yeah, just so he can like look at the
time
stars.
to stop and buy a telescope.
And lo and behold, he's out there looking at the sky, and he sees a light.
Yep.
And he asks everybody, "Are you seeing this?" And everybody else sees it too. And suddenly, all hell breaks loose. The sky starts raining down spaceships. There seems to be one for every building, and they're methodically going through floor by floor, and erasing all these people in every single building. So they're almost reptilian looking, and they're
and they had these weird kind of gurgly sounds going on. So you're like, all right, what the hell is going on here? Yeah. And of course he's like, see, I was right. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
But then when all hell broke loose, it was like he became like a complete wuss. He was like, I don't know what to do, and the wife had to step up and freaking. She was like kicking ass.
So these aliens, for want of a better term, have these huge dome heads, kind of like Mysterio from Spider-Man and the robot from Lost in Space. So you get no sense of what's behind the dome. So you don't see what the actual aliens look like, just because they're encased in this bizarre spacesuit.
Right. Peter, they are killing everybody. They are just mowing down everybody and anything. They had like machine guns, but then they also had like lasers. So it was like a twofold. Because when they're trying to break through the family's door, there were like lasers coming through. But then there's other times where it's just like a straight up machine gun. That was kind of a weird.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's a very, very powerful scene because you're in it, because there's no explanation given. As soon as Peter sees the lights and he establishes that he's not crazy, the attack starts, and it doesn't slow down. So you as the viewer are in there with the family. You're in the middle of the attack and the confusion and everything else. So I thought that was very well done, that whole sequence.
Yeah, because there's another family in there with them. The girls get separated. So that was kind of right. It was chaos, and you didn't really know what was going on. Did you pick up the ship sounds were very War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Right? I thought that was an interesting sound effect choice. Yeah, I immediately, it evoked War of the Worlds to me.
At one point, they barricade the door, right, of their apartment. So one gets into the apartment, and Peter actually manages to subdue this alien and take his weapon and shoots his way out to get his family out of the building. And unbeknownst to him, the weapon, this machine gun, laser, whatever it is, has a tracking device on it. So as soon as the alien comes to back in their apartment, he's able to track where Peter is going.
Didn't Alice, the wife, beat him down with the telescope?
She actually initiated the attack, and then Peter stepped in. He's like, I got this now.
I like the irony of it. She beat him down with the telescope that they saw him land,
Right. Well, she was pretending it was Peter.
They just managed to crack the helmet, but you still don't see the reveal.
So was this like the alien's favorite gun or something? Because he was now, like, as opposed to just, finding another gun or using something, calling in reinforcements and just eradicating the rest of the people in the building. He's now obsessed with finding this.
Well, it's a personal affront. Your gun is assigned to you. He probably would be court-martialed on that. So he's got to get that thing back.
So, yeah, I got the impression it was like his favorite gun or something. Grandpa had given it to him.
The alien finally catches up with Peter and his family. There's another fight ensues. They get the helmet off. The big reveal that the alien is human.
He looks human.
And, at first, that was a mind blower to me because I was not expecting that.
And he was a kid at that. He wasn't even like, it wasn't like an army general or, some grunt. He was like a kid.
And just because the costumes, the spacesuits were so bizarre, and like the noises coming out of the spacesuits were so bizarre, it's the last thing that you would expect for something that looks human to be under this. And then for a while he doesn't speak. So I was thinking, oh, this is such a twist, because I was assuming that this was still an alien, but that just looked human, that was a human from another planet, and that these were the aliens that were invading. But no, there's another twist in store.
What?
Mm-hmm. This alien turns out to be an Earthling. And where they're invading, here's the reveal. So if you don't want any spoilers, turn this off now. Where they're invading is Earth. And they're trying to reclaim Earth back from androids that have taken over.
Dun, dun, dun.
Peter, Alice, the whole family, the whole population of what you think is Earth, it actually is Earth, but they're all robots.
They're synthetics, AIs, artificial intelligence.
So you find out through a series of flashbacks that the AIs, these robots, have taken over. Years before, there was an uprising, kind of like the Battlestar Galactica kind of a scenario.
Yeah, basically, silence, yeah.
They have a robot revolution, and Peter kills a human. You find out through a flashback. Lizzie does the same. They all pick up weapons and drive the humans off of Earth. At
Planet of the Apes.
Yes, Planet of the Apes.
I think Stephen Hawking's actually warned us about this, that are the most dangerous thing.
He did. AI.
Yep. And so his flashbacks or his visions were not anything that's coming in the future. It was past memories that had been erased from him that are now kind of bubbling back to the surface.
We find out then this whole life wellness center is kind of a place where the robots would get their memories erased so they could have a normal life. So they're not living in fear that humans are going to come back to try to reclaim the Earth. Apparently, when humans leave the Earth, escaping this robot massacre, they go to Mars.
They go, because you get your ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars, yes.
The alien, the human, his name was Miles. So he was Miles from Mars. And the only reason, so the reveal was that mom got injured. And he's like, I can save her. So now all of a sudden, Peter's forced to the first thing Peter does is take this guy and basically enslaves him into indentured servitude, carrier. So I'm like, no wonder why they want to try to eradicate you. Humans show up and how long have the humans been gone? That was a big question, there was a lot of, the twist I thought was cool. I like the reveal. And then they basically have to do is Peter has to jack in to his wife and download some of his own essence or whatever.
Jumpstart her.
Basically, in order to save her life. But in the process, all of his memories come flushing back. She regains her memory. You find out that the boss, David, who ran the factory, there was a handful of them who actually retained their memories and knew all about this uprising. We're trying to make sure that's how they knew when Peter was having these visions that something was wrong with him. Their memory wipe had somehow broken down and they needed to kind of get him fixed.
They'll be back. Never trust a human to just let things be. Some of us are going to have to stay ready.
Right. So only a very small percentage of this robot society had their memories, as Jeff just said, so they could be aware of any impending invasion by humanity. But I would think that they would want just more than just a few people in on that, because nobody was prepared when the invasion actually came.
Right.
So they had no defenses whatsoever for
right. This. Yeah. The convenient plot device, which was that the wife, Alice, her big promotion was that she was taking control of these underground tunnels that no one had used or knew about. But that's exactly how they escaped back to the factory, because they couldn't just run across the city streets because they were going to get destroyed. So they crawled down into the tunnel.
Well, they did set her up early as an architect, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, she got that big promotion that she was somehow going to take these tunnels or do something with them. It didn't really make any sense other than the fact that they, showed you the big schematic of the underground tunnel. So we knew later on that was a plot point they could get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and the other thing that kind of bugged me was the humans' existence on Mars. Miles says that they lived in poverty, or it took them a long time to get the resources together to mount this attack back on Earth to try to reclaim it. So you get the impression that there was already colonies on Mars, but they didn't have a lot of resources up there.
But enough resources to get back to Earth.
Right. So that's why they had these bizarre costumes, right? Because maybe they were just like ad hoc things thrown together by somebody that had no access to real materials. So who knows? But yet they knew how to Miles knew how to fix the robots.
Right.
So
yeah, because he said he knew everything about them. He had studied
Yeah.
them. He knew everything about them. So, right. So how long were the humans off Earth? How long were these synthetic fake people on Earth? And so, I mean, how did they reproduce? They didn't reproduce. They weren't really his kids. All these flashbacks. That's the one cheat on the flashback, which he kept seeing the vision of the two little girls in, rubble, and they're crying, "Mom, Mom, wake up." And at one point when Alice or whatever her name was gets shot, she's like, "Please tell me you'll take care of the girls. Nothing happens to them." And he flashes to that. And you're like, oh, Mom's going to die. This is what we see. But then you realize they were AIs as well. And their parents were killed because they were human.
Yeah, the humans apparently had adopted or were keeping these two girls as their daughters.
And so Peter and Alice found these two little girls and just took them in and said, all right, you're our kids now.
Right. You know what would have been awesome if they were two human girls that they had taken in. That would have been a real another plot twist.
But because nobody ages. So the girls were the same age when they found. I mean, how long were they there? And in all of this time, nobody cut their finger open and saw like robot parts inside. Nobody got.
If they did, they just went to the doctor at the Whole Life Wellness Center and just got it erased, right?
Yeah, but I'd be like, what is this? Because when Miles cuts her open and you start seeing all the little bobbles and the pipes and the stuff, he's like freaking out. He's like, what the hell is that? So
is there robot sex? Do they have
right?
Do they have marital relations?
They reproduce. They never every year they just celebrated the same birthday. These kids didn't age. I don't know. Every morning did they wake up and it was the exact same day again?
It could have been because Miles at one point says that you chased my grandfather off the planet. So it's two generations have gone.
Right. He's like, I don't know your grandfather. Yeah. It's an elaborate, well done Twilight Zone episode.
Yes,
is what it is.
Now this has a very interesting behind the scenes story going on. That this movie has been the script has been going around Hollywood since 2011, 2012, and for a while J.D. Johnson, I believe he directed First Avenger, Captain America: First Avenger. He was attached to direct this with James McAvoy in the Michael Pena part, and for Universal as a legitimate theatrical release, and that fell through. And then it came to I don't know what the director's name is who eventually got it, but they filmed it for Universal. It was slated to be released in theaters in January this year, and then at the last minute, Universal decided to pull it and sold it to Netflix. So they must not have had that much confidence in it. And I would have been disappointed if I saw this in a theater because it is a high end, very much like a high end TV movie when you're watching it.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed with the the visual effects.
Not quite on theatrical level, but
but for a Netflix movie, I was happy with it. I was like, this is actually pretty impressive. And the whole thing at the end, they have this big underground railroad train that they're all going to escape in. Yes. And visually, it was very impressive. But what's the point of having an underground railroad train that runs above ground? They come out of a mountain and go past a beautiful lake, and it's like, there's guys that are destroying the city right over there. Look over your shoulder. They're not going to see a train flying by.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, look, there's some escaping. Let's just take it out.
Yeah, and then the tracks end here. They must go somewhere.
Yeah, no, but that was the cool thing, which is as they receded over the water, the tracks actually like dumped down into the lake, and then they disappeared into the mountainside, and you're like, oh, they're gonna go somewhere else and just survive. So it was. I enjoyed it. I liked the trip, but the twist was a little. Not even when I was watching it, but afterwards, I'm like, wait a minute. So how long was this? And
it does kind of, once you realize what's going on here, it gives credence to the beginning of the movie, which is the blandness of the characters in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Matrix. When you watch it for the first time, you're like, why is everything green at the beginning? And then when you realize what's going on, it's like one of those, you want to go back and rewatch it just to kind of, now you can watch it in context of what you're actually seeing.
Right. And the whole thing with the overhead shots of when they look like ants walking to and from work, that's probably how humanity would see them, as ants that need to be wiped out.
But why are they working? You know, they don't need to work, right?
They don't need to work.
They don't need food, and they don't.
No, they don't. It's part of the elaborate ruse that's given to them by the few that are in the know.
But why? All right.
Yeah.
What's the point of uprising then if you're just gonna? I don't know.
You know what they could have done is just like giving them some electronic Prozac or something. Just get their nerves down, you know? At least be ready. Have an army.
Something. I don't know. Yeah, and the name of the movie, Extinction. Could we just pick a more generic name?
I thought to myself, haven't there been more than one
there's
movie
gotta
called
be.
Extinction? There's got to be.
There's got to be like 15 movies called Extinction. Even Annihilation is bad as well.
Yeah, I know. They cannot be the only ones that have laid claim.
Pull up a thesaurus, please. Yeah. Oh, so here's the one other thing which we didn't talk about at all, which is the little girl, Lucy. She has this talking monkey. It's a little toy monkey, and
Herman.
Oh, Herman. His name is Herman. And he spouts the little phrase, monkey see, monkey do. So take that into the context that you are now a robot imitating a human, Herman, human. I thought that was a nice little connection there. I thought that was or am I just digging for some kind of...
I think you're digging deep for that.
No,
Wow, this is a great movie, Jeff.
File that one next to Miles from Mars.
Monkey see, monkey do. They want to be human, just like you. And that's it. Turn off the damn flashlight. They're chasing you. Turn off the flashlight.
Yes.
Hide.
That
And then he escaped with the windshield, the window wiper scaffolding. That was genius, by the way.
Yeah, on the outside of the building.
On the outside of the building.
Yeah.
They'll never see us.
Yeah, that's how
immediately collapses.
That's how the attack is being formed, is being shot from outside the building.
Right.
Yeah, let me get out into the battle on this.
Right. We go to the roof. We go to the roof so we can get a really good view.
Because that was when they hit the stairway, they're going up. I'm like, why are you going up?
Right.
Go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. So there you go. Popcorn buckets.
Yeah. What are we gonna give this thing?
I'm gonna go 3 because I did enjoy it. I like the performances. Now that you told me that it was supposed to be a theatrical release, I might have to dump it down half a point. But for a Netflix movie, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I did like the twist, even though there's all these questions.
I think I'm in your camp. If as a Netflix movie, I'm going to give it a 3. But if I saw it in the theater, I'd be highly disappointed.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have been a 2. But I do like the notion that the aliens are Earthlings. You know, that really made it for me. When that actually came, I wasn't expecting that to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, concessions must be made for this being a Netflix movie. My first inclination would be 2.5, but because just the blinding ferocity of these battle scenes, the annihilation scenes, they're not even battle scenes, I would go for a 3 as well.
Cool.
So there you go.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, and all this bloodshed makes me want some meats, I think. So let's we got some burgers. I want hot dogs with nitrates. Let's see what they got, because I'm smelling some popcorn.
Top quality hamburgers, the most popular snack in the country. We serve them plain or garnished to your taste. Hot dogs, the all-American favorite. Certainly we serve them piping hot and full of flavor. Call for yours now.
So our classic film this week is a classic in every sense of the word. Total Recall.
Which I thought that the Whole Life Wellness Center was going to be a recall type of a center where they were going to reprogram their memories.
It is definitely in the same league as Recall.
Yeah. So I think I paired this up pretty well.
I think you did.
You did too.
Yeah. So anybody who has not seen Total Recall, this is the Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle from 1990. 90, right? Or 91?
Yeah, 90. 91
right.
was the year of Terminator 2. So this is definitely 1990.
91? Okay. All right. Yeah, so this was directed by Paul Verhoeven. I will tell you, I watched the DVD commentary version with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Paul Verhoeven.
Oh, that must have been...
Between their two accents, you couldn't understand a single word they were saying. It was chaos. Good thing I've seen this movie numerous times. But Paul Verhoeven, so he had come off RoboCop the year before, 2 years before, a couple years. And then he also did Starship Troopers, I think, afterwards. But all three of those movies, to me, well, half of the cast is in RoboCop and in this Total Recall. But to me, they kind of share the same aesthetics. They almost look like they could live in the same universe visually.
Oh, but, definitely. Yeah, his movies all have a kind of a through line, I think.
Yeah. So, and Carlco, which was the studio that produced this, is no longer in existence. But
was Cameron in any way, shape, or form attached to?
No, Carlco? I never heard James Cameron's name mentioned.
Just because this was who produced Terminator as well.
Carlco.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whatever came of that studio, but yeah, right. I think right after Terminator, something happened there because you never really saw them again. So, but again, this kind of plays with memories, and the movie opens with a vision of a man and a woman, and they're climbing the mount of Mars. They're on Mars' surface. They fall, and then he immediately gets exposed to the non-oxygen, starts freaking out, and then our main character, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is Doug Quaid, wakes up. He's having a dream. And next to him is his lovely wife, Sharon Stone, who I think may have been one of her very first movies.
And she was lovely.
She was lovely.
Yes.
She was lovely indeed. And she immediately talks him down, and that he's just having these crazy dreams and visions and, going on your life. And
again, talking heads.
Yeah, basically. Her name was Lori, by the way. Again, that name just keeps coming up. So I did find out that Dino De Laurentiis actually owned the rights to this at one point, and that Schwarzenegger convinced him to sell it. And then after RoboCop, he went to Paul Verhoeven. He's like, we have to work together. So he's the one. He championed this thing.
Dino, sell me the movie.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, for a 1990s movie, visually this movie is spectacular. All of the special effects are either blue screens, miniatures, matte paintings. All of the special effects as far as like the facial stuff when they're on Mars and later on when he disguises himself, they're all real prosthetics. So this is all real world animatronic puppets. And it still holds together. I mean, I enjoyed it immensely, for a movie. Although Verhoeven came out, there's a scene early on when Quaid is going to work and he walks through the giant x-ray machine.
Yeah.
He turns into this animated skeleton. And he's like, oh, this was like the first CG computer graphic ever. And I'm just like, that's so wrong. It's not even funny. Because 84, I remember specifically, last Starfighter was blown away by the CG ships. So that was already like 6 years prior to this. And before that, it was 85. When was the young Sherlock Holmes? That was really the first big CG character when he fights the Stained Glass Knight. ILM actually won an award for that.
An Academy Award?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yep.
And to me, I think that was really the first time. I think I read somewhere that ILM, it took them 4 months to do that scene back in the day. But anyways, so he starts questioning reality. And every time, he's in the train and he sees this advertisement or whatever for Recall, which is this, have you ever dreamed of going to Mars? Have you ever dreamed? So now all of a sudden it's kind of feeding into his fantasy, this idea of these dreams he's having. And so he wants to follow through. And everywhere he goes, he's got people talking him out of it. And you're like, all right, are they just telling him he's crazy for the sake of telling him he's crazy? Or is there something more going on here? And as the movie gets into it, you realize there's something more going on here. Or is there?
Well, there definitely is something more going on here.
Yes.
So this is another memory wipe situation, which also ties in nicely. So he goes to this recall to try to implant a memory of a Mars vacation into himself, because his wife does not want to go to Mars, but he's fascinated by the planet, even though they're having kind of a revolutionary war, kind of an uprising.
Early in the morning when he's having breakfast with his wife. And they actually foresaw the big giant TV screens that we all have in our house now. His entire wall becomes one big TV screen. Yeah. And they can change it at will, and suddenly it's a tranquil beach, or it's a mountaintop or whatever. But I thought that was pretty cool.
So he goes to Recall to get the Mars vacation implanted into his head. And the head doctor there is Dr. Lull, which I thought was a very nice play on words.
Lull him
to sleep, yeah. And then, of course, when he starts to go under, they hit the other erasure that's happened in his head. And it kind of takes it away for a second because, you know, in the inimitable Arnold fashion, he starts to go.
Right. I think the amount of facial expressions that this guy goes through in this movie is just ridiculous.
And he's got to do the Arnold arg, I think, in every single one of his. Because you blew my cover. You blew my cover. He's spouting nonsense like this, and they try to knock him out, and it's hilarious because the head of Recall says, "Put him in a cab. Nobody can know he's been here. I'll refund his money."
Refund his money.
Then he wakes up in a cab with the animatronic driver.
Yep,
Johnny Cab. Yeah, Johnny and then the movie really takes off. Then then he finds out all of his friends, his wife, are just there, are plants to keep him kind of sedated because he has all this memory that could bring down the government, the fascistic government that's on Mars. And for some reason, they haven't killed him. Did they explain why? They just never just killed him?
Well, he was best friends with Cohagen. It was like his buddy. So I guess they felt, you know, you can take this movie two different ways because when he's in Recall and they're talking to the used car salesman guy is trying to sell him on this package. He spells out the entire movie. He tells him exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be an international spy. People are going to try and kill you. You're going to go on an adventure. Like that's exactly what happens. So is it all?
It could be.
Is everything that you're watching from that moment? I mean, even when they sedate him and all right, you know, what's your sexuality? Are you hetero or are you gay? And he's like hetero, and the girl just like smiles like, yeah, bitch. And then he crafts the perfect woman. They're you know, a little CG woman, you know, how tall you want, brunette, blonde, and it's the girl Melinda that he meets later in the movie. Yeah. That is his ideal woman. So did he just because he knew her in the past, did that subconscious come through and he redesigned this, or is everything we've seen just complete fantasy? So it plays fast and loose. You can take this movie two completely different ways, in my mind.
It's true.
You either believe it that he was a secret agent and he's now, you know, all these things are coming back and resurfacing, and he's now on a run for his life to figure out what the hell's going on, you know, or is it really all just in his head because it is exactly what the guy sold him?
Yeah, I think from what I read, the original script or story, one of the two had a more ambiguous ending where it opens up that it could have been all in his head.
Well, the end of the movie is exactly the beginning of the movie. It's his dream. They're just not in spacesuits.
Yeah, it doesn't come to conclusion, really.
No, I would love it if at the very end of the movie he wakes up again, just like he did in the beginning, and there was just one big loop.
Right.
That would have been awesome. Do you know Jeff Bridges was actually originally cast for this? He was supposed to play Hauser when Dino De Laurentiis had the...
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this was a stretch for Arnold. This was a big kind of dialogue, plot-driven role. And, you know, Arnold is Arnold. I don't think unless you're going to put him in an Oscar bait type movie, he would completely fail. But in any kind of an action scenario, you just buy it. You don't care that he's got an accent. You know, you don't care about the backs. Why does this guy have an Austrian accent? Or you just kind of buy Arnold in movies like this.
You mentioned the script. They mentioned in the commentary that there are 30 different versions of the script at some point.
Man.
So, and it was all based on a Philip Dick novel.
Yeah.
So. And they also revealed that they never actually implanted, or at least the woman in Recall said, we never implanted the actual.
Yeah, we didn't get that far yet.
Right, we didn't get that far. Now he's on the run. Everyone's shooting at him. They filmed this all in Mexico City, so all that concrete bunkers, like that's like some headquarters down there in Mexico City, and they refer to it as architecturally, it's called New Brutalism. Oh. I was like, that's pretty interesting, but yeah, because it's brutally just.
The whole movie is just brutal because
it is.
Verhoeven, as a director, is just like embraces the gory violence.
Well, you watch Starship Troopers, and that is.
Yeah.
He took everything. Yeah. I mean, guys are getting gunned down. There's a scene where he actually uses a pedestrian as a human shield, and this guy gets blown apart multiple times. And then
some poor backpacker,
right. The poor kid's on his way he's going home for college break, and he becomes a human shield.
Yeah, that whole sequence after he gets out of Recall, and then Michael Ironside shows up. After he has the fight with Sharon Stone, Laurie
Richter,
who reveals herself as Michael Ironside's girlfriend. In reality.
Come on, if you don't trust me, you can tie me up.
You're so kinky.
Maybe it's time you found out.
Clever girl.
And she gives him 2 crotch shots there. Like she punches him in the crotch, then kicks him in the crotch. And both times you see his gap tooth. That I thought was wonderful. And then Michael Ironside has this sidekick. You never know what this character's name is, but the guy with the glasses
and the spiky
hair, very much like the White Urkel. Like every time I kept expecting him to say, "Did I do that?
Did I do that?" Richter and Michael Ironside is just one of the greatest character actors ever. He just chews up the scenery.
Of course, bonus to the scene where Arnold has to wrap a wet towel around his head to block the tracking device.
He gets a secret phone call. Like he gets to a location, and then this guy, it's all like exposition. This guy, I got a secret briefcase here for you. You got to come downstairs.
You never see this guy again after that.
No, and of course, by the time he gets down to the payphone, there's an old lady trying to take the briefcase away, and he just like beats it out of her.
Man, this is mine. And then he bows to her.
He bows to her, right? But yeah, wet towel is enough to keep their scanners from chasing him. I guess there's no aluminum in the future, so.
And we have to discuss the "Get your ass to Mars" quote.
Get your ass to Mars.
Because this is probably one of Arnold's most quoted lines. Is when he opens up the briefcase and there's a message
from himself,
from Hauser. And the message itself is just so smug and self-satisfied. Hauser is like not panicked at all. Oh, if you've gotten this, that means they've erased my memory.
Correct. Yeah.
Now it's up to you.
Get your ass to Mars.
And then he instructs him to pull out the tracking device, which is one of the most harrowing scenes.
Such a great, and again, because that's all real world prosthetics and animatronic, and he just digs that thing deep. Now stick it up your nose, and you're gonna hear a crunch. It's like that would stop right there.
Don't worry, it's self-guided. Hear the crunch.
Right. And the thing is that Hauser is such that I would never want to be him anyway. So,
but again, pulling out that thing allows us another.
Yep. And they were just abusing animals left and right. At the end of most movies, they have that little "no animals were harmed in the making of this," but they're shooting rats. He's pushing them off the thing at the end. Ironside, Richter's shooting at the rats. Later on, the guy knocks over the fish tank, and the fish are flopping around on the ground.
Yeah, I don't think a rat would have as much innards as when Richter
no, there's some serious
sprays all over the.
Yeah, that was a great scene, right? So get your ass to Mars, and there's this blood goofing down.
Now, did you read also? Not only Jeff Bridges was in the running for this role, but also Richard Dreyfuss was tied to it at one point.
No, I didn't hear that.
And Patrick Swayze at another point was tied to it. Yeah, I think this would have been a great Swayze vehicle.
That would have been wild.
As a follow-up to Roadhouse? Come on.
But all 3 for the lead role of
Doug, yeah.
Right, yeah, the Quaid Hauser.
One other thing which they mentioned in the commentary, which was that Michael Ironside was originally supposed to be RoboCop.
Really?
That would have
been a
completely
awesome.
different movie.
It would have been.
So now Hauser's on the run. He's been told to get his ass to Mars. And then they just cut to the ship landing on Mars. So we don't know how we do know how he got there, because where he got this fat lady suit from, who knows? But you got to give this woman credit, because she's a real actress. Priscilla Allen was her name. And she's just big, heavy-set woman with red hair. And she's trying to get through immigration, I guess. Richter was on the same ship as he was. They were on the same ship the entire time. Because he comes off the ship like 2 seconds after Arnold arrives on Mars.
Yeah, they were.
So they're riding the same ship.
Yeah,
right. She starts haywiring, and that's another great scene, which is she's pulling her mouth and she's stretching her hair and her ears, and people.
Which is Arnold trying to get the mask off.
But this was the actress herself was doing all that leading up to the prosthetic head reveal where it opens up and you realize that it's all just an animatronic and he's underneath it. And then he throws her head and get ready for a surprise. And then she blows up.
It's like, why can't she say anything but 2 weeks? And
then we're told you need to get to see Quato.
Kuato, yes.
You see that in the background. You see, I think Kuato's name was mentioned early on in some of the news footage that was going on behind him when he was having his conversation with his wife. And then when he got
as the resistance leader.
Right, correct. And then when you get to Mars, you see Kuato, wanted rebel leader posters kind of littered about. So, they lay the groundwork that we're eventually going to see Kuato. But we also get exposed to the three-breasted woman, which was always a thrill.
Everyone remembers that. Everyone remembers where they were, right?
Yeah, exactly. But he's told he has to go to the red light district in Mars. So is that the red light district?
It was Venusville, wasn't it?
Venusville? Okay, regardless. And there's mutants running around. And the mutants exist because they were
early settlers that lived in cheaply shielded tenements or something.
Yeah. And we got some cool ass mutants running around. I mean, they are mutated.
Yes, they are. It's like the Hills Have Eyes type.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And we meet Benny, the cabbie.
The duplicitous cabbie.
Yeah, Benny? So you think he's a good guy. Did you catch so we know that Michael Ironside went on later to play Ham in the TV show V. Do you remember his little fat bearded sidekick on that show?
On V? No.
Yes, correct. There's two, they were always buddy together. That guy's on the train with Hauser for like a split second.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. Mickey Jones, that's his name.
Okay.
So we're off and running. We got to go to the red light district now, and we got to find Melinda because he gets a note. He gets a handwritten note from himself. Go find Melinda for a good time.
Yeah, which they over-explain to the audience because he has to write the word.
He actually writes out Melinda again.
Yeah.
My handwriting?
That is my handwriting.
I wrote it myself. And then we also meet, Melinda, Rachel Tickerton? I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
But she is a familiar face from a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah.
And of course, Sharon Stone's character comes back because there has to be some girl-on-girl fighting.
Oh, that was a great fight scene, cat fight. Cat fight.
Kuato is killed. He's a casualty in all this. Yeah.
If you've never seen this movie, Kuato is this half mutant that lives inside. It's like one of these Siamese twin people where the second body never really kind of goes.
Right.
So it's just this mutant inside of a human, and he's running around. The guy's running around all the movie. Then all of a sudden he does this.
Then he opens his shirt.
His chest is like 8 times the size that it was 2 seconds ago, and you got this Kuato. You must start the generator, and he's got this fat little fingers and this pussy. I mean, just ugly, horrible looking thing.
Now, do you remember the X-Files episode Humbug, where they must have taken a page right from this movie where the killer is the Siamese twin of the one freak from the Freak Show.
I have a buddy who actually had an extended hernia, and he actually referred to it as the longest time. And when he went and finally had the surgery, they had a big party for him, and the wife made a cake with Kuato, and Kuato has left the building.
Did it become sentient? The
yes, it now works at Walmart. Can I help you in automotives?
So the idea of Kuato was David Cronenberg's, because he was the director that was set to direct this when it was De Laurentiis's.
Oh, interesting. That makes sense because that is just an off the wall visual.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on as it is, but when Kuato comes into the picture, you're just like even Arnold's like, what the? Yeah.
And Arnold gets to drop the F-bomb left and right.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of cursing in this.
And
then that recall agent shows up again and basically explains the rest of the movie to him. Eshmar or whatever he was.
Yes. There's that scene where Arnold is looking for that little bead of sweat to show on his
right.
face.
Yeah. You're not going to shoot me because this is not real. None of this is real. And then you see his sweat. And that leads into him end up shooting Lori as well because she beats the crap out of him. Thanks for that's for making me come to Mars. And then he shoots her and he has the best line ever, which is, consider this a divorce. And so
this was set to get an X rating, and they had to go back and cut it down. Yeah. For violence, yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, even a 3-boobied lady gets shot in the back.
Yeah.
In the back.
And at the end, when the end becomes the beginning, where Arnold and Melinda, what is her name?
Melinda.
When they're out there exposed to the Martian elements, and they're about to get their eyeballs sucked out, and they're both doing the ARG, right? That all the oxygen explodes out of the surface, and then their faces are back to normal again. You'd think that they're at this point their eyes would be buggy permanently.
bugging out. They just, I'm back to normal, but I got one eye like dangling down to my chin.
Yeah,
and of course, Quahog. Right, so it's a big chase scene, and it conveniently he takes an elevator that takes him right where he needs to go, in order to. So suddenly, as Quado's on his deathbed, he's like, you must release the generators, and you find out there's this big, huge nuclear generator. There's these giant pistons just hiding in the mountain that are going to create oxygen,
which are the alien artifacts that they've been referencing throughout the film.
Right.
Correct.
Right. Correct. And Quahog knew about them and they've never employed them or whatever.
Because then he would have no more monopoly on air on
right.
Mars.
Which I think isn't that the plot of Spaceballs? President Scrooge was going to deny them oxygen so he could sell it back to them, Perry Air.
Yeah. Also, if you ever watch the full-length version of the Lorax, the theatrical version, that's also the bad guys' plot, is to sell Thneedville their air because everything is polluted. There you go.
Spaceballs.
Dr. Seuss facts for you.
Are you talking about the DreamWorks animated?
I am talking about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he ends up releasing the oxygen and everybody survives and he does exactly what he was told it was going to happen. He was going to save planet. He was going to save everybody. Do you think Steve Jobs watched this and he was like, oh, you can unlock your phone with your finger. I'm going to steal that. Because all he does is touch the alien thing. And suddenly these giant generators that have been locked up for thousands of years, if not millions of years, comes to life.
Yeah. And they do. And they hang up their picture phones by a swipe as well.
There you go. Swipe left.
So maybe he did. And so that also ties in both of our films today, is that it's got the Martian element because the humans went to Mars to escape the robot annihilation, and then they're on Mars in Total Recall. So
we got our ass to Mars.
Bravo, Jeff.
There you go.
Tie-in.
It works.
So
I still believe that everything was it was all in his head. And they did tell him at the end of the adventure he was going to be lobotomized. So that's why he just cuts the black. His adventure ended, and now he's...
See, I don't think so. I'd like to think that it all happened.
So do I.
Of course you do. I just like the idea that you can take it either way. So, yeah, no, everyone wants it to be real. That's more fun.
So he got his ass to Mars. So how many popcorn buckets would we...
This is fun. I got to go 4. I'm going 4. This was fun to watch again.
Yeah, I'd go 4. I mean, it was sort of cutting edge for its day. You know, it was
very... Like I said, special effects are just... I mean, the one thing that they kept talking about is that they were constantly filming green screen and blue screen, which back in the day was, you're going to drop into special effects later, but everything had a red hue to it. So it was really, especially when they were on Mars, so it was very, they had to go back and film numerous times in order to be able to get that hue right. Because Arnold was saying, even like when he picked up something metallic, it would have a blue cast on him. And the special effects guys really had to work overtime to kind of get rid of all that. And those all that on Mars stuff, that's all miniatures. And those things, you got trains moving, it's not just a static painting. When they pan, it pans left and right. You've got cranes, you got trains, you got, little people walking around. Very impressive for the day.
Well, we've done this before, so I would give it 3 3/4 buckets. I wouldn't quite go 4, just because there is like a B movie element going on here. It's not quite graduated to the big leagues. A lot of the sets seem like TV set things. So the action is great. Arnold is great. I love the story, but I wouldn't go quite 4 buckets. It's like violent, pulpy sci-fi, but it's still in that B movie realm for me.
So what would take it?
What movie theater would you get 3/4 of a popcorn?
I mean, you would. You totally would. You would get
if you just denied me butter, maybe you'd be like, that's 3/4.
But yeah, Mike, what movie did you give no popcorn buckets to? If you can give no popcorn buckets, then I can give 3 3/4.
So Jim, would you take this to 4 if during the fight sequence with Richter at the end and he gets his arms chopped off, Arnold says, "You've been disarmed"?
That may have done it for me.
That's such a missed opportunity. I don't know why.
But he is Arnold. He's granted. Yeah. He's granted this. So let's give our box office information as we normally do for our classic. Budget of $65 million. Back then, that's an expensive movie to make in 1990. So the budget was $65 million. Box office was $261 million. So it made it back. It was a hit. It was a hit for Arnold. At the time, one of the most expensive movies of all time.
That was for the 30 versions of the script.
So there you go. So Arnold will bleed into our confessional this week.
Confessionals.
And the confessional is, and I'm sure everybody has their own, but what is your favorite Arnold quote? Not in Total Recall necessarily, but of all time. So let's have Mike go first. Mike rarely goes first, so let's hear it.
So mine isn't like, I don't think it's, a classic one that everyone repeats in their Arnold voice. But my favorite line is from Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And it's,
"Come with me if you want to live."
And that's what he says to John and Sarah in sort of that medical facility. And just like the look on her face and him just saying that was like, I was like, awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, I think it is an important line in that movie, definitely.
Yeah, because you realize, well, that's when you first realize that he's not the same Terminator from the first one. He's not the bad guy.
Right. And she's going to take sort of a leap of faith, because she's just scared, at that particular moment.
Nice.
And that is one of his better movies, too. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that was such a, yeah, we'll have to dig deep on that one day.
Yeah. So mine, I'm going obscure for my favorite Arnold line. Red Heat. Jim Belushi.
We tried to forget it. Jim Belushi.
Arnold.
She's still trying to remember.
I don't even remember the plot of this movie. All I remember is the line where Arnold and his wife are having a domestic dispute in the beginning of the movie. It's not Sharon Stone. It's another actress whose name escapes me. But she is a little tipsy, and she's upset with him one thing or other and throws a cake at him that she's just baked. He ducks, smashes against the wall. He stands up, looks at the wall, looks at her, goes,
"You should not drink and bake."
Was he Russian in that one?
He was.
He was supposed to be a Russian? Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe he was a plant or something. I don't know. But that's my favorite Arnold line.
That's funny. Well, you told me that we said off air that Predator's off the table because we will be reviewing that. So I won't go down that road. You'd have to bleep it out anyways. But mine is from Kindergarten Cop.
Oh.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
My kids say that all day long.
It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor. I got a headache. Maybe it's a tumor. It's not a tumor.
Is that before or after he pulls the ferret out of the trunk of his car?
Yeah, that ferret was just...
Oh, wait a second, kids. Hold on. I just remembered something. And
he stole that from the set of Beastmaster, by the way.
Yeah, look at my ferret.
Look at my ferret. You get called into the office now. You pull that on a kid. Come touch my ferret. Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do.
You're still not buying the human Herman thing?
No.
I think there's more to that.
You should write in. You should email the director and see if there's anything to it.
Wow.
Oh, so I think we've pretty much exhausted the subject matter of this show, so we can announce our next week's episode.
What's going on next week, Jim? Please tell us.
We're gonna look at Cargo, which is another Netflix movie.
Is that the Men at Work album?
It is not. The follow-up to Business as Usual? No. That's that. What did that have on it?
Just the fact that you knew Business as Usual.
Off the top of your head.
Off the top of your head. That was pretty good.
I can meet you tit for tat here,
all right,
my friend.
Yeah, that may have been that was one of my Columbia House albums.
Dr. Heckle and Mr. Jive.
There's a great live cover of that. I have Colin Hayes, lead singer.
With a wandering eye.
Yeah.
Not just for the ladies, just in general.
No, look, I'm over here. Look at me. Over here.
All right, now we've truly gone down the rabbit hole with this one.
Okay, who can that be now? Is that where that song came from? Because he couldn't see the front.
He couldn't look through the keyhole. Our apologies to Mr. May if he happens to be listening. But if you are one of our 2 Australian listeners,
they're an icon.
Put down the Vegemite. What did he say?
Let's go. TMI's going to pay for that.
So yes, we're going into the Australian outback with Cargo, and it is based in Australia, I think.
There you go.
Movie.
Martin Freeman
in a pandemic zombie kind of a apocalyptic turn,
and a baby.
With it, yeah.
Because what's better with zombie
in Australia in the outback with the dingoes?
The dingo ate your baby.
Yeah, I don't think dingoes eat the baby, but I think maybe zombified.
There's some aborigines.
Zombified aborigines? I don't know.
Oh, maybe we can pair this up with The Gods May Be Crazy.
We could, but I would like to take my get out of jail free card, my classic movie card this week, and make one of our listeners happy. That guy Matthew. He was one of our respondents to our Funko Pop contest. Not the winner, but one of the respondents. and he requested that we do an Evil Dead episode. So we're not going to do an entire episode because I feel that we really should concentrate one movie at a time when it comes to Evil Dead. We don't want to just glom them all together.
Because
I'm going to go Evil Dead 2.
Nice.
So it'll be Cargo and Evil Dead 2 for next week. And Mike, I will bring in the movie so you can watch it.
That would be awesome. I've never seen any of them.
You are in for a treat.
Do I need to watch Evil Dead 1 first to understand?
No, because the great thing about Evil Dead 2, it gives you a 10-minute or so recap in the beginning of the movie, so it brings you right up to speed.
This is perfect.
It is. So there you go.
All right.
We're done, I think.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening again.
Thank you.
Come back next week, please.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Ciao.